You are listening to I Am Refocused podcast with your host, Shemaya Reed. This podcast is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. Now, let's tune into today's podcast.
Hey guys, this is I Am Refocused podcast. We are here once again on a Thursday, Rockefeller's Barbershop. Shout out to Rico Rodriguez, the owner of Rockefeller's Barbershop. We have a returning guest, but this time she's in uniform. We're talking to Cassie Peoples, and today we're talking about her experience with Florida Gators, former athlete. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Man, it's crazy, man. San Antonio is lit, and I'm telling you, man, this shows me awesome because you started at University of Texas.
Yes.
And you found your way to Florida.
Yes.
So let's just start with that. How did you get to Texas, and tell us a little about that?
Yeah, so I'm a San Antonio native. I'm from San Antonio. My mom went to St. Mary's University, so I grew up around the area, and I basically grew up a Longhorn. I was recruited from a really young age. I went to camps, and I still have burnt orange in my blood. And, as far as basketball, Gail Yesencourt, she was the head coach when I was there. She was previously at Duke, and she recruited me to come to Texas. And let's see, I believe it was the beginning of my freshman year in high school that I verbally committed to the University of Texas. And I spent my whole first year there. I think I played in about 6 games, and then I had to have surgery, so I redshirted the rest of my freshman season. I had to have a rod put in my tibia.
Man.
Yeah, and so I sat out the rest of my freshman season.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, you still playing basketball, though.
Yeah.
So when you got healthy again, were you still at Texas, or were you already starting the process to transfer?
My rehabilitation for my shin was actually very, very difficult. My whole freshman season, I was trying to just recover from the surgery itself. And I dealt with a lot of pain from that surgery. And then I actually wasn't healthy when I transferred. I was getting healthy, but I was still dealing with the pain of the surgery, and because I cut through my patellar tendon in my knee, and so I had a lot of pain from that. And it wasn't until I decided to transfer and when I started working with the Florida staff that I actually became game ready healthy. And so, I battled with a bunch of stuff at Texas, like my weight, because my playing weight was comfortably 145, 150. And that's with lifting, being slim to run and keep up with people. But at Texas, my weight actually got to around 178. So I was extremely overweight from my surgery. I sat out a whole year, and I was pretty much in a bed, in a cast, and then on crutches for a whole year. And then actually, my senior year in high school, or my junior year in high school, I broke my other shin.
Wow.
Yeah, my tibia actually snapped.
Man.
Yeah.
That's crazy, because with injuries, they can sometimes hinder an athlete to perform at their fullest potential.
Yeah.
Because let's go back to high school now, just real quick. When did you decide, man, this is something that I really want to go for, and maybe one day play in college sports?
It's since I was a little girl, it was a dream, yeah. Since I was a little girl, and then, at high school, it was really a no-brainer. I really wasn't going to let an injury stop me or slow me down. And actually, after my junior year, I rehabilitated myself, and then I actually played on the U18 USA team. We won gold, and then I was a McDonald All-American. And so, I had some success after that initial injury, but then when I got to college, it was like another plague of injuries. So.
No, that's a big deal, because everybody knows about the McDonald's.
Yeah.
That's a huge deal. Now, fast forward back to college. When you made that transition, were you meeting with coaches, or was it just show up to school and?
Yeah, no, it was. You mean when I decided to transfer? It was a very tough decision, because my coach who recruited me, she resigned from her coaching position there, and so there was a new wave of coaches that were coming in, and it was a really, really tough decision for me in my life because I was so young too. I was like 18, 19. I mean, I grew up a Longhorn. In my head, I was supposed to be a Longhorn my whole college career, and that's where I wanted to play, to represent Texas. I mean, Texas pride is. Oh yeah. I wanted to play at Texas. Man. And it was just a decision that I had to follow and make in my heart, like what was going to help me become an effective college basketball player. And I just didn't feel it, when I was in that time and point, mentally, physically. There's just a lot that comes into it. Specifically mentally, I just wasn't in a great mental space at the time, and I needed a change. And so I decided that I wanted to transfer, and I asked my coach for transfer papers, and that was pretty much it.
And just asking this question, was Florida on the top of your list, or were?
Well, I had lived in Florida for a couple years in my 8th grade freshman year in high school. So there was a connection. I had visited pretty much all the Florida schools, and then Amanda Butler was actually the first coach that I called to tell her that I was committing to Texas and that I would no longer, And so I really loved Amanda Butler through my recruiting process really young. And so I called her, after I'd gotten my papers signed and was released, I called her and let her know that my recruiting was basically open again. And I'd let her know I was not healthy. I let her know I was overweight. I let her know I wasn't in a good space. And, they open arms. They knew, they had seen me when I was younger. They knew what type of player I was, and I was committed to bettering myself while I was there at Florida. And so that's why I bought into becoming a Gator.
And plus, you're now in that transitioning process. Tell us, what was day one like, and especially day one in practice, because now you're getting back into the groove. What was that like for you?
Well, so day one of practice doesn't start until after summer school. So day one at the University of Florida was kind of scary because I'm from Texas. I'm flying with 2 bags over to Florida to come and live in a new state, right? And I'm 18, 19 years old.
Did you know anybody?
I did. Because, the basketball world, we all know each other. And so I knew some of my teammates. I knew. The basketball world, you know each other. And so day one in Florida was, it's kind of scary. You're 18, you're away from home. I can no longer drive an hour back home to San Antonio to go see my parents, my brothers. My little brother, he was just born at the time. And then I had 6-year-old brother, right? So it was a little nerve-wracking. And then 2, I'm walking into a situation where, again, I'm not physically ready to compete. But it was an easy transition. They made it really easy. I don't want to say easy, but they made it comfortable for me. They made me feel welcome. And by day one of practice, I was ready to go. The Tyler Stewart, our strength and conditioning coach, he pushed me. He got me healthy. My body was just in amazing shape. It was in better shape than I had pretty much ever been in. And I was ready. Yeah. For the younger athletes out there in high school, middle school, high school, what is it like to be in that college space where you get to travel with the team? It's not like high school where you're just catching the yellow bus. How is that experience, or how was that experience at the time? We had chartered planes. We had,
see what I'm saying?
Yeah, we had chartered planes. Your tutors, if you need it, your academic advisors fly with you. You have food being catered in for you and to-go boxes after practice. It's great, but it comes with a lot of responsibility. You're flying to a game or wherever you're going and you don't necessarily get to sleep on the plane the whole time. This is your study hall hours until you get off the plane and go to shooting practice, right? So I mean, it's nice, but you have to understand that you can't get caught up in, oh, this is great, this is awesome. Like, no, you need to stay focused and understand that you're there for a reason, right? You're there to perform. You're there to stay focused. You're there to get your work done. And so, yeah. And
plus, like, you have cameras and stuff in your face.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
ESPN and all those networks.
Yeah.
How does that work in college sports? Does the coach, do they allow players to talk, or do they pick certain players to talk in front of the camera? How does that work? Yeah,
well, in college at Florida, because it was a big university, you usually have someone who's in charge of your media and kind of being that go-between the team and the media. And then she's kind of the go-between the coach and whether this player can talk and that player can talk and things like that. So you do get to talk to the media a lot. Being at the University of Florida, we were part of SEC Network at the time, so there were at our games a lot of TV, cameras and people there, and so it's a fun experience, and you get a lot of exposure to talking in front of cameras, talking to the media, and you do get media training and things of that sort.
And with all of that camera, lights, action, it's a whole different world now. How is it with on campus? Like, how is the student body when the whole team is walking around? Like, do you go to, because everyone's going to be wondering, you go to any classes where it's just for athletes, or is it mixed? Like, how's that?
I mean, you're integrated within the regular student body, yeah. So, you have interactions, and it's a lot of fun because they do, University of Florida, all the sports are just amazing. Back-to-back national champions, football, back-to-back softball champions, and so the student body really embraces sports at the University of Florida, and it's a great experience to just be a part of that. For us to be a part of the student body and for them to embrace student athletes, for us it's equally as amazing.
And you touched on how you have tutors and that kind of access when they travel with the team, but when it comes to college studies, how do the athletes balance that out? Because you're not like a traditional student where
right.
they just go to class and go home, or apartment or whatever.
Right. So at the beginning of the season, the athletes have an academic advisor separate from your college academic advisor, and they work specifically with the athletes. In the beginning of every school semester, you get a letter that has out our days that we'll miss due to games. You usually don't miss practice or you don't miss class for practices, even when we have games. If we get back at 2 a.m, you have to be at class the next morning. Really, the only time you miss class is if you're playing that day. And so we usually give our teacher a letter with all the days that we'd miss in school, and so then we have our rubrics. We can sit down with our strategy tutor, and then we can prepare for those missed classes. That doesn't mean you turn in classwork late. That means you need to get your classwork done before, so that you can have it done on time, right? You know when this is due because you have your rubric or your syllabi, and you know when you're going to miss, so there's really no excuse. And so, I mean, the typical day for us was, if you have weights in the morning, you have 6 a.m., 7 a.m. weights, and then you shower really quick. You run to our dining hall where they can put some breakfast to go for you, pick that up, and then you're on to your 8:45 a.m. class. For me, or for all the athletes really on our team, all of our classes had to be done before noon because we had practice around 3. So I would have all my 3 or 4 classes before noon. I'd eat lunch. I'd usually eat my lunch on the bus on the way back to the practice facility. And then I would get to the practice facility, and you usually needed to be taped an hour prior. So I would have to get taped, get all my treatment done, and then you're on the court 30, 45 minutes before practice so that you're getting shots, getting warmed up, and then, whether it's 3 p.m. sharp, you're on the court, ready for the strength and conditioning coach to come in and stretch you and warm you up and things like that as a team. After practice would be maybe 3.5 hours. So practice would end around 6 o'clock. You shower, and then usually you had your content tutors that you'd go see in the evening time. So you maybe had a content tutor at 8, and then another content tutor at 9, something, around there. You schedule your content tutor. And then you also had your dining hall hours that you had to go to. It was our dinner. And so we had to check in at our dining hall every day. You get to miss like once a semester, but that was just to make sure that we're eating.
Man, yeah, you got it. After doing all that work, you got to eat.
Yeah. So it's it's just this constant, and it's an everyday thing, right? That same schedule every day, and then you'll have one day off a week, but literally for 4 years straight for me, it was every day. And then the summer, I stayed every summer school too.
And it keeps you busy. So it's not like there's a dull moment. You're out there and you're out there. You're not just kind of floating around.
Right.
How about game day? And getting close to the break, but how about game day? Was it a different process where you guys watch a little film, or did you have a team meeting, bonding?
Game day's pretty, I don't want to say pretty relaxed compared to the rest of the days, but game day for me was, it's like a breath of fresh air because you're not beating down your body on game day. You're recovering, right? And so the normal day for game day is pretty much the same, except you're not going to have the weights in the morning. Once you get out of your noon class, you're going to head over to the stadium where you have shoot around. And this is a home game, so you have shoot around that's usually only an hour, and then so that gives you a lot of time. You get to go home then after that, nap, eat if you can nap, and then you're usually, so you have to be on the court on game day an hour before we have to be on the court. My times are getting on. I don't know the exacts, but you're there pretty early at the game to get shots up, and then because then you have your hour warm up before the game, and so game day for me it was a full schedule. Yeah, it's a full schedule, but it's not like.
It's not intense, but you just got to be in certain places all the time. Right. And we're going to take a little break and come back on the second half and talk a little bit more about the college life. And like I always say, man, you guys are in for a ride because we are talking to Cassie Peoples, man. And don't touch the iPhone because we'll be right back.
To Rockefeller's Barbershop. This is the day that the Lord has made, and I will be blessed and be glad in Him. Today I want to introduce myself. My name is Rico Rodriguez at Rockefeller's Barbershop here in San Antonio, Texas, 1733 Babcock Road. My phone number is 210-782-5188. And again, we do walk-ins on Sundays. You are listening to I Am Refocused podcast on iHeartRadio. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.
Does your website need more traffic? Well, visit overflowcafe.com today. They make websites popular, and over 41,000 people use their service to gain more customers. They are winning our business. What about you? Visit overflowcafe.com today.
I Am Refocused podcast. We are back again. Thanks for tuning in to the show. We are talking to Cassie Peoples, and we're talking about her experience at Florida Gators. She was a former athlete there playing basketball, and we left off on game day. And when the lights are on and the crowd is loud, what is that feeling like? Because I'm sure you get used to it. But what is that feeling like before you start playing ball?
Yeah, honestly, every game, it's like a run of chills right down your spine, because this is the University of Florida.
Yeah.
These are lifelong fans, and it's like you're part of something bigger than yourself.
Exactly.
And it's like when those lights go on, that's kind of the feeling that you get. It's like, wow.
Do you ever like look out in the crowd sometimes, and you know how student bodies, they help, hold signs and stuff? Do you ever see yourself on these signs or your teammates? And when you do, what's your reaction like when you first experience it?
Yeah, I mean, usually I notice things like that when I come off the court and I'm on the bench, and one of my teammates is like, hey, look, and fans would create like these huge, just your face cutouts of yourself, and
that's funny.
Yeah, and it was honestly hilarious when you'd see things like that.
Now, the coach, the whole staff, are they all like after the game? Is it like back in the day, like let's all go get some pizza, or is it? Hey?
No, no. It depends on if you win or lose. I mean, honestly, when you lose, you can hear a pin drop before the coaches walk in, because they have to go to media, and then they come talk to us, and we're just sitting there. If we lose, like, damn, I hope we don't have practice tomorrow morning. And sometimes we'd have to be up at practice at 5-6 in the morning, be ready to get some shots up or something like that. But no, it was fun. I mean, when we win and the coach comes in and we're all throwing stuff in the air, excited, and yeah, so it's a fun time.
And when, like, off season, does the team ever get together? Because you watch professional sports like WNBA or whatever, you see how they do documentaries, and like the team will bond and they all go, Disney World or something like that. Do you ever had those experiences where y'all had those bonds and do activities?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we were in Florida, so
Universal Studio.
No, the beach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I mean, we had beaches on every every end of Florida. So during the summertime, when I'd stay for summer school, we'd take trips sometimes to the beach, or we'd take trips and just go have fun.
Now back to college life, because once again, you're playing sports, but you're also doing classes. What were you studying in your college life?
So I went to school during the year, every summer repeatedly for 4 years. So I actually walked away with 2 degrees. And so I have a degree in Telecommunications-Media and Society, and I have a degree in religion. And so, yeah, so the first part of my college, I was studying telecom and learned how to read. I knew how to read, but I learned how to write, write for particular media outlets, really honed in on those specific skills. And then later, when I finished that degree, I didn't know really what I wanted to do. I mean, I really didn't know that I wanted to study telecom first part of my life, but or the first part of my school years. But when I had to sit down and think, what do I really want to study? What will intrigue me? And I mean, I've always been interested in people and people's beliefs and why people are the way they are. And so I decided to study religion. And so I studied Buddhism, I studied Islam, Christianity, New Testament, Old Testament, evolution, Greek mythology, you name it. I studied it all. And so I really got to learn about cultures. I got to learn about customs.
Diversity.
Yeah, and it really helped me. And that was probably my most favorite degree, was my religion degree.
And have you, once you completed your course in college life, did you find yourself using your religion degree a little bit?
I mean, I use it every day, honestly. Every day I come in contact with people, I now have a better understanding of people, and it helps soften your heart, really, right? You start to see people as, from a lens of understanding rather than a lens of why, or or you're different, right? Yeah. And so by me studying religion, I really got to understand that we're not different, right?
Exactly.
You have your beliefs, I have my beliefs, and that's what makes you, and that's what makes me. And I appreciate other people's perspective on life and their own perspectives on their truths, right? And so every day I use my religion degree, and people ask, and they'll ask me that question, do you want to be a pastor? Do you want to be this? Do you want to be that? You don't have to learn or understand a belief just to become a pastor, right? You can use that to better yourself as a person, and to understand how to be of service to another person, right? What do they need in their life from you, right?
No, that's real. Now, speaking of culture, you did play basketball overseas. Where did you go, and how did that opportunity come about?
So I played over in Germany for half a season, and then after that, when I came back home after that season, I signed a contract to play in the Czech Republic, and I was there for maybe a month, and then I ended up coming back home because I had bruised up my knee, and the language barrier was ridiculous, and trying to see doctors and tell them what was hurting, or it was just, so I ended up coming back home, and then I started working, and yeah. So
you transfer again.
Right.
What was if you could pull something from that experience, what would you say you enjoyed the most being exposed overseas?
Honestly, seeing the different lifestyles that we live versus, other countries, the good and the bad, also to the architecture that's out there, with the churches. I visited Cologne, and I was able to visit some of their historical churches that had survived world wars, and it was something I had never seen in my life. These churches are sky high churches. The sketches in them are insane, and to think that they made that back in, it's just something you can't believe unless you're actually there looking at it.
So starting from San Antonio to University of Texas to Florida to overseas and back, that's pretty good, man. Yeah. There's a lot of people in San Antonio who don't even get out the city.
Yeah.
So when it comes to today's world right now in San Antonio, you got your day job, you doing what you're doing. What is next for Cassie?
That's a great question. So when I came back from playing overseas, I really had to evaluate what I wanted to do in life. So I was 25, and I was healthy. I could have gone back and played. Still had my agent, but I realized that I wanted to use my knowledge and my talents holistically, and I wanted to grow professionally as well. So I, got into a program here in San Antonio, worked, and I really had to come to a point where I had to decide, if I leave basketball, I had to be a better leader. I had to be more responsible. I had to be just better all around if leaving basketball is going to be worth it, right? And so, I made a conscious decision that I would be a better version of myself if I was going to step into this professional world, right? And so everything that I used to get me to where I went with basketball, I'm applying that now, that same work ethic, but I was able to evaluate my shortcomings with basketball and better myself for the work world.
Did it ever cross your mind that maybe one day I might go WNBA? Like, did that?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, as a little girl, everybody wants to play in the WNBA, and I tried to, get into training camps and talk to WNBA coaches and things like that. And it's just a matter of evaluating what I wanted to do long term in life, right? Do I want to keep chasing being a WNBA player into my 40s? Some people, that's their truth. That's what they want to do, and great. It's that there's nothing wrong with that. For me, I felt like my calling is to be of the community and to be to make an impact in another area. And I felt like I'd given everything that I could for basketball. I put my all into it. I gave what I could give at the time, right? And now it's time for me to make a big impact on my community, and that's what I plan on doing from here on out.
So sports, media, religion, culture. That's a good mix.
Yeah, it's a huge.
That's a big mix.
It's a big. It's a 360 approach.
And using your platform, what would you want to do in between now and the future of you in the future? How would you want to use your platform to influence people?
However people need to be influenced, right? So everybody has their own particular needs, right? Right now, I'm coaching my little brother's 8U basketball team, right? And so however those kids need me to help them develop for their future, that's how I'm going to influence them. So it's not always a matter of what I think I need to do to influence. Sometimes people need something particular from you, right? And so you have to be able to evaluate, how does that person need me to lead them, right? How does Johnny need them or need me to be a leader for them? How does Sarah, so everybody has their own needs, and granted, you can't fulfill all of them, but if you can make an impact on a handful of people, then I'm doing what I need to do. And I want to tackle issues like the affordable housing crisis in San Antonio, the homelessness that we're plagued with just as a American society, right? And so that's why I have transitioned to where I'm at now with Limitless Creations Incorporated, because we are tackling, veteran housing. We're tackling the issues of homelessness and how homeless people can have access to sanitary places to shower and clean up, things like that. We don't have any solutions for that here in San Antonio, where they can lay their heads down at night, right? We have shelters and things like that, but we need more. Yeah. Right? The affordable housing crisis, right, in San Antonio, we're looking into that. So I chose to become part of the Limitless Creations Incorporated team because I believe in the same ideals that they believe in. And, we're going to continue to hit on these hard issues that San Antonio needs help with, and I want to be a part of that. So.
And you mentioned serving earlier in the show. How important is service in your world?
It's everything.
You mentioned your brother too. Like, do you ever? Does he play one-on-one with you? The
little one, yeah, he thinks he can beat me. He actually made a kid fall the other day. He threw it behind. He threw it behind his back, and then he crossed over really quick, and the kid tripped.
Like Iverson style.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and he's 8.
That's good, man. Well, man, time is almost gone. So before we let you go, man, how can people stay connected with you, Cassie Peoples?
You can follow me on Instagram. That's Cassie, Cassie, the letter J, Peoples. I have a Twitter, Cassie Peoples, Cassie Peoples. I have Facebook, and you'll see me around. We're working on some big projects, and I'll be around.
Well, that's what's up. Y'all know now, former basketball player at Florida Gators. She started University of Texas, found her way to Florida, and came back after she went overseas. So, man, you represent San Antonio very well. That's what's up, man. Any shout-outs?
Shout out to my family. I have 3 little brothers. One's 23, then Logan's 11, and Braden 8.
But there you have it, man.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for taking time of your busy schedule to be on Refocus Podcast. Once again, you can check this out on refocusmagazine.com and download this on iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes. Make sure you share this with everybody. Big shout out to Rico, the owner of Rockefeller's Barbershop. You need a haircut? Make your way down, man. Make your way down. So, with that being said, like we say on every show, keep God first, stay focused, and peace.